Welcome. I call to order the May 16th meeting of the New Bern Planning and Zoning Board. Kendrick, can I get a roll call, please?
Board Member Kyle Deering. Here. Board Member Marky Dunn.
She made it.
Board Member Sonny Aluzo.
Here.
Chairman Brad Jefferson.
Here.
Board Member Rusty Ingram. Here. Board Member Kelly Kaiser.
Here.
Board Member Thomas Brownell.
Here.
And Board Member Marshall Bow.
Here.
All right. And we do have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Kendrick. All please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4, Chairman's remarks. There's been a change to this. My intent was to go over the rules and procedures I shared with the board. However, this afternoon I had a meeting with city staff and with legal, and there are some language that they want to add, but it's not going to take anything away, I don't believe, from what we've got. So what I'm going to ask is for everyone to email me your comments on this. And legal is going to get back with me. I'll send out another one, and then we'll give this thing a good work through via email. Then at the June meeting, we'll put it out, the public can see it, and then we can vote on it in that. And if there's any discussion that needs to be had, we can have that during that meeting. Let's keep that. Having said that, we're going to change things around as well, something else on this. So we're going to do action item 5A, Carolina Colors, Bayberry Park, Phase 4. Kendrick, do you have a brief for us?
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and hopefully I'm trying to make sure this mic is active this time.
Good.
So, and to the board as well. But our first item here for tonight is Carolina Colors, Bayberry Park Phase 4. This is a cluster development general plan submittal major subdivision 002-872-2024.
Our screens are not on.
Yeah, our screens are blank.
Ah, well, I am sorry about that. I don't know that I can fix that, unfortunately. Mr. Robert may try to see if he can get that back up. I'm sorry about that, though.
Sonny, why don't you make that motion while we're waiting and see if we can get these correct?
To change it to that?
And for the public comment. And for the public comment.
Yes, that's what we
Yes.
I'll kind of lead you through it, and hopefully if you do have questions, I'll try to see if I can reiterate and go back through and make sure that you understand who's what and what's where. So,
Okay.
the request summary, the applicant is Thomas Engineering, PA, or John G. Thomas. The owner is Overlook Holdings, LLC, and the location is at or near the intersection of Onyx Lane and Spring Green Pass. This is in New Bern, North Carolina. The existing zoning currently is residential 8 or R-8, and then the approximate size is totaling 107.97 acres. And the overview for the actual item here, the proposed cluster development is supposed to be for 140 single-family detached residences or lots. The subject properties are subject properties currently zoned residential 8 or R-8. This is established as a residential zoning district per our land use ordinance. And the last thing here, the purpose for an actual residential district is to provide comfortability, healthy environment, safe and pleasant environment as well, in which to live, sheltered from incompatible or disruptive activity, essentially something that's not supposed to be in a residential district. So. And unfortunately, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a vicinity map that I have posted right now currently just to highlight the actual main portion of the parcel. And that main portion is the centering point. The other two sections that you see were previous portions or maybe projected for the future. But the center portion there is the primary that we're focused on right now. And followed by that, here's a buffer map. And again, it's kind of similar to some of the previous ones that you've already experienced, but we have to take the buffer map around the entirety of the parcel. This was done and completed successfully to make sure to indicate that portion on that parcel in its entirety for the buffer map. So that's within 100 feet as well. All residents and citizens within 100 feet of the actual parcel would receive notification. And here is a aerial map just to kind of highlight what's currently physically there as well. This is from 2021. And following lastly, here is the zoning map, which highlights the R-8, or at least reflects the R-8 yellowish color. So that is the residential district here. And that's followed by the site plan for the entirety of the project here, showing the actual lot layouts and things to that effect for the actual item. There was several questions from previous, so we try to incorporate that this time, make sure that that was also sent out to folks who received a letter. And staff's evaluation, the proposed subdivision meets all the requirements that were set forth in the City of New Bern, New Bern's land use ordinance, and all the comments have been addressed, or at least specifically acknowledged as well. There was a response letter that was generated by the applicant at my request to acknowledge each individual comment, and they have done that. And I'll put this back on to the actual site plan, but if anybody has any questions, I understand. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but you're welcome to ask any questions.
All right, no problem. Thanks, Kendrick. I will entertain a motion for public comment and a length of time per comment.
Yeah, I would like to limit the length of time for the public comment to 3 minutes.
Okay.
And then we push that up to put it after.
So let's see. So we're going to make. So the motion will be to move public comment now and limit the time to 3 minutes.
That's correct.
Correct. We have. All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Chair, just to be clear, are the public comments general public comments or comments on this particular application?
Comments on this particular application. All right. I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so before our discussion from the board, I will invite, Diane Bauer up, and just briefly, the role of this board is a technical review. The final approval for this matter will be to the Board of Aldermen. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
3 minutes, I apologize.
My name is Diane Bauer. I live at 3809 Burleywood Lane in this vicinity. My question is, with all this building, there is basically one access to come out to Waterscape, and from Waterscape in the community, there's a front exit and a back exit. With this additional housing unit, plus the additional that we had just received, we're up to now 200 additional homes with this access, with buses coming in again. And I really want to see if we can do a traffic and impact analysis to see if we should get another road coming out to County Line Road to ease that burden. If there is an emergency, we need different accesses because we're all going to get jammed up in there. So I think that that's an important aspect that we really need to have from the city, because moving forward, we know that more land will be developed. And at this point, there needs to be a separate access to get in and out from the development. That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
this board actually does have the approval authority for final plats. This would not be the same as a rezoning.
Right. Okay. All right. Next up would be Russ Bauer.
You kind of spoke for me.
Okay.
But just to highlight that my concern is with emergency egress and should fire, flooding, evacuation, whatever have you. And there are only three, one back to Airport Road on the opposite side of the development, and then the two on Waterscape heading out, plus with the Wilcox to other developments. You've really got a bottleneck in there that you need to consider not just the building that's going on right now, what the existing housing that also access that area is from. And when you're looking at only that center portion, it's obvious those bigger edge portions are also going to be filled in. So there's got to be forward-looking prognostication, if you will, as to how bad that could get. And it's strictly, my concern is strictly a safety concern, quite frankly.
All right.
So I have a question for city staff. So how would this get discussed? I mean, we're doing general plan approval if we go forward with this, right? So this type of comment about additional egress points, how does that get addressed?
So as far as from a city staff perspective, this gets addressed through DRC. So any comments that are pertaining to traffic and things to that effect primarily get looked at through Public Works. If they proceed with comments, then of course those comments are then passed back to the applicant to make sure that they address those. That's a big part of the reason as well, to make sure that they do provide a response letter to said comments, and they've done that. If Public Works doesn't raise any difference of opinions versus with what's there as far as from a traffic perspective, then primarily it's not something that I can raise in particular.
Well, can city staff make a statement to Public Works that comments were brought up in the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, that this is at least a concern of the community, and that if there's any kind of analysis that's done, it'd be considered?
I would say we probably could. I can't give a definitive that anything would be changed or.
No, understood. No, just to say, if there was an analysis done that comments from the public were at least considered.
Absolutely.
For DRC comment.
Yes, we could make that comment.
Okay.
Absolutely could do that. So.
Okay.
To be clear, we do not have a traffic impact analysis requirement, and we could not condition this approval based on that.
And Mr. Rusty, I can't see your last name, I'm
That's
sorry. I understand, and this issue has come up several times in the past about traffic and ways to get out of various different subdivisions. And because this board is a technical review board, you are comparing the plan as submitted to the requirements of the land use ordinance. And if individuals are dissatisfied that there are not additional requirements in the land use ordinance, then those comments should be directed to the Board of Aldermen, seeing as they are the governing board that adopts and amends the land use ordinance.
No, understood. And just to be clear, I wasn't making a comment about whether we have the ability to adjudicate something like that ourselves. I'm not suggesting that. All I'm suggesting is if there's public comment and things are raised, can that be shared with the appropriate agency so they could at least be aware? That's all I'm suggesting.
Right. And the applicant, I believe, is here, or representatives from the applicant, so they're able to hear the public comments in the room. So that, I think that concern is being addressed.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Next up, Ron Larson. 3 minutes.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity. Ron Larson. I am at 4300 Onyx Lane in the Bayberry Verdant area there. Just a few comments. I think a few for this board and questions. I echo the traffic issue. I think we all understand, being there day in and day out, what that's going to look like, what it looks like now, and what it could potentially look like with the additional properties. So some other form of egress would certainly be helpful. Another concern I have is, given the amount of development that's happening, not just in Carolina Colors, but in and around, is really the ability for emergency services to handle that. Has the city considered what that's going to look like in the future with all the new housing developments, with fire, with police, with other emergency services? I was hoping that could be addressed and make sure that was looked at. And the third comment is really primarily just about the development itself. There's 3 plots in the area that are considered kind of park area that are adjacent to the build. One of them has a children's playground on it. The way the layout is right now on Crimson Walk looks like it's going to be built through right adjacent to that playground. That road really doesn't serve a purpose because it terminates at the other end at Cinnamon Run, and it just feeds back into the other roads of egress. So if the developer can consider just leaving that and not building that through, I think that would help with just the feel of the area, the park-like of the area. And again, it's right adjacent to where the children's playground is, right there. So if that can be considered as part of the development, that would be appreciated. I've known the development's going to happen. It was part of the plan. I knew it coming in. So I'm not worried about the plan. I'm just worried about how the city is going to adapt and to make sure that the citizens that are moving there are properly served by the city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll say I don't speak for the city, but I know they are looking at city growth. And any questions like that, I would also recommend talking to your alderman or the board and asking those questions. They're valid questions. And if the city isn't keeping track of it, they need to be. And the citizens should keep them on that. I have one other, and it says NA here, Bobby Billingsley. Or do you want to comment on this item or the stormwater item? Or do you have a general comment?
No, I'm the applicant. I represent Thomas
Okay.
Engineering.
Perfect.
I would just like to be here to answer questions and whatnot. A couple of things that have come up is the development of future properties. We're pretty much bound by wetlands and blue line streams, so there's not going to be anything else. We have one little future development area. Something may or may not happen with that, but in this direction, nothing else is going to happen without some serious bridges. As far as the earlier gentleman suggested, we look at removing that road. I think we can look at that. Kip and Kip Paragor's here, Overlook Holdings. I would not like it to be a condition of the approval of this general plan, however. As far as connectivity, there's two outs to Waterscape Way right now, and we have all kinds of interconnectivity interior to it, similar to what we normally do. This development is adjacent to something, Bayberry Park 3 is similar to what we're doing now. Bayberry Park 4 is similar to the Chambray project that we just came through with. So I think it's in order. Anyway, I'd just like to just say we're here and answer questions or future comments, whatever.
Okay. I will open it up to the board for discussion on item number 5A.
Well, I do see that, during the general plan, when it was submitted, that, the fire marshal, police department, all the staff have their opportunity to go through the general plan completely. And I was just going back and looking at they don't have comments or they were satisfied with the connectivity at that time. So you have to assume that they did an analysis themselves to understand, what was safe or not.
Right.
So.
Any other comment or questions from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion on this item. Excuse me, ma'am. I didn't close the public hearing.
It's not a public hearing. You entertain a public comment.
Okay. Real quick, does anybody on the board oppose this lady making her comment?
No.
Okay.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't have
3
a chance
minutes.
to sign up ahead of time.
Fair enough.
My name is Chris Vasco. I live on Burley Wood, which backs up to the proposed development. And I don't have anything new to add. I just want to go on record as that I also am concerned about the traffic impact and the impact on emergency services, and want to go on record to request an traffic impact study. Although I know apparently it's not conditioned the approval on that study, I think it behooves everybody, and it's in the community's best interest to do that. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Is anybody opposed to having one more gentleman speak? No. Come on up, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Rick Myers. I live on Spring Green Pass. As I look at this, the talk about egressing out of there, it looks like the majority of the traffic will go down Spring Green Pass to get to Waterscape. It's almost the only way out of there for the majority of them people. And of course, that's a big concern because we've already got heavier traffic on that road just due to the development that's already happened. I can't even imagine with all them people going down that road. And on that section of Spring Green where we live, we don't even have sidewalks. So the people walking on the road with their pets, children playing on the road, so forth and so on, people are coming down that road now above 35 miles an hour, and mostly it's contractors getting in and out of there with the building that's going on now. So I can't even imagine with this many homes how bad it could get on that one road. And the other concern I have is water pressure. Carolina Colors water pressure is at best adequate. With this additional homes being put in, is there anybody looking at what may need to be done to increase water pressure? Because I can't imagine it just get worse.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll try to chime in on that. So,
Sure, absolutely.
Sir, in accordance with some of your comments and then the previous gentleman, I believe his name was Mr. Ron, but our DRC, which is the Departmental Review Committee, it involves pretty much public works, water resources, public utilities. It's a slew of folks that have to do these reviews, and that also pertains to the fire department and the police department. So pretty much just as Board Member Kaiser was referencing, those are vetted through the general plan and application process when they first submit. And any comments received, we make sure to provide those. Well, myself, actually, I deal with that. I provide those to the applicant for them to address, and they have to acknowledge it in some fashion or form if there is a comment that needs to be acknowledged.
All right. That are my concerns right there. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I would just add, always remember, talk to your alderman. They're they can get things done. They direct things. I will continue discussion on this.
I make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Aldermen to approve this general plan. And it is in accordance with the land use ordinance.
Yeah, we're not. Go ahead.
So general plan approval is your purview. So if you're inclined to approve this plan, the motion would be styled something like this: that you move to approve the general plan approval for Carolina Colors Bayberry Park Phase 4 and find that. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, I misspoke earlier. That's
Well,
my problem.
do we approve or the Board of Aldermen approves?
General plan approval vests with you all.
Okay.
And final plat.
And final
And
plan.
final plan. Okay, so I move we approve the general plan as applied for.
Twice now. All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Let's do a roll call vote on this one.
Sure, absolutely. Board Member Kyle Deere.
Yes.
Board Member Marty Dunn.
Yes.
Board Member Sonny Luzo.
Yes.
Chairman Brad Jefferson.
Yes.
Board Member Rusty Ingram.
Yes.
Board Member Kelly Kaiser.
Yes.
Board Member Thomas Brownell.
Yes.
And Board Member Marshall Ballard.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 5B, City Stormwater Text Amendment.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to kind of direct the floor to either Public Works or whomever may be speaking for this particular item. But
Okay.
essentially, they're going to entertain any questions that the board might have.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is George Childs. I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of New Bern. We have been mandated by the state of North Carolina that we modify our local ordinance to implement the revised Neuse River Stormwater Rules. The updated stormwater ordinance is consistent with the model developed by the state, which has been mandated to us and has been reviewed and approved by the Environmental Management Commission and the Division of Water Resources. And to just give you a brief summary of this, of what was mandated to us, we followed their model. It does make easier reading. It is more logical in sense as you read through it, and there are no substantial changes to it. These are just updates from actually the original 2001 version of the model that the state had originally come out with. So there's nothing substantial in it, as in changes of technical terms or treatment to our current plan. It's just some of the verbiage and the way it's laid out.
Does the board have any questions for staff?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So I did read through the majority of it. I'm not going to say I've read through every word.
It's very
every
entertaining.
page, yeah. I did have a couple of questions, though. There's one section, 15-503, in purpose and intent. Under number 6, why is that started with encourage and not required? I know this is a very technical question, but it would seem that we would want to require, and now I have to find it myself.
Can you tell me which section that was real
It's
quick? I'm gonna have
15503.
Page 3. Page 3.
Page 3.
Thank you. Number 6, encourage the use of better management and site design practices such as the use of vegetated conveyances for stormwater and the preservation of green space, riparian buffers, and other conservation areas to the maximum extent practical.
I'm going to let Avery Smith, our stormwater superintendent, address that. He's worked closely with the city attorney's office in developing these changes, and he may be able to address it.
Perfect.
A technical verbiage I couldn't tell you right off top.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Board. Mrs. Mosley can explain as well as I do. The word encourage is not to make it a legal standard to use certain design criteria to treat stormwater. We had the stormwater design manual that was let out by the state is what we follow, and they have some new practices that are actually outside of the manual that you can use, but they have to be approved by the state. So that word encouragement means like, we wouldn't mind if you use that, but you don't have to. It's more of it's a gray area, and it's there on purpose because we can't force people to do anything outside of the design manual per se. So where there's a wet pond and you would prefer them to use wetlands or something of that nature, you can't force that upon them. They have the choice of what they can use for treatment as long as it meets the criteria to treat the water down to the levels that we set for our threshold. So that's why they say it.
I appreciate that comment. I'm not an attorney.
Yeah, me neither.
But encouraging the use of better management and site design practices, to me, requiring that shouldn't be an issue for better management and site design practices. You're not telling them exactly what to use. You're just saying you need to have better management and site design practices.
Yes.
I'm arguing a specific point, and I shouldn't be. I'll let y'all figure that out.
And that's a good point, Mr. Ingram. And this language is contained in a statement of intent, which isn't necessarily binding. It's not a rule. It is the city's global representation of what these rules and guidelines within the stormwater ordinance are supposed to represent. So, and it's my understanding, and Mr. Childs, correct me if I'm wrong, that the language that is before you is the language that has been recommended and approved by the state agencies, which have a great deal of oversight over stormwater management. And if we could go above and beyond what's here, I think we would have, but we are constrained to what the state has given us direction to, provided us guidance about, and what they've approved.
That is correct. We were mandated for these changes, and they provided the model to follow, and we have adhered to that model.
Okay.
Real quick, is there anything in the land use ordinance that we could change that we're currently working on that could impact the stormwater?
Perhaps. I'm not prepared to answer that question right at this moment.
Okay.
But I think the rules that are being promulgated today, and I have not gone through every single line,
Right.
are going to address the lion's share of stormwater concerns in our area.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm just curious.
It's just, to me, requiring the use of better practices makes a lot of sense. You're not telling them exactly how to do it. You're just saying use better practices. So, but if you guys can look at that, that would be great. The only other question I had was in section 15505, which is page 5. Do we have a stormwater administrator? I thought that was you when you were introduced, but I wanted to just ask the question to be sure.
Yes, we do.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That's all the questions
I've heard he does a great job, by the way. That's what I've heard.
So you had the answer to the question, so by definition.
Any more discussion on this item? We've been asked to either recommend or not recommend to the Board of Aldermen, so that needs to be in the motion.
And Mr. Chair, in the spirit of being helpful, if the board is inclined to recommend approval of this stormwater ordinance, the motion would be styled to the effect to, 1, recommend to the Board of Aldermen approval of the city stormwater ordinance, and also finding that the ordinance is consistent with city land use plans.
There you go. I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll recommend, I make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Aldermen to approve the stormwater management ordinance change, and that it is consistent with the land use ordinance of the city of Newburgh.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I will open, since it's on the agenda, item number 6 for public comment for 3 minutes. Is there anyone left that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for item number 6 or 8 or 7, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.